Hello and welcome to Step It Up. My name is Shalece and I'm a compulsive eater and food addict in Phoenix, Arizona. Lulu and I are very excited to share our experience in working the 12 steps as they are laid out in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. This meeting will be held on the second Tuesday of each month. We will cover one step per month. There will be a question and answer session at the end of each meeting. Today is August 11th, 2020, and we are going to be covering step 2. And Lulu will now share her experience with step 2.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lulu. I'm a compulsive overeater. I'm from Boston. And step 2, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. So this step was very difficult for me. It's just, I had to really unpack this. First of all, I had to consider that there was a power greater than myself that I couldn't even fathom. And I had to consider myself insane, which seemed really odd. It's like, isn't that a little dramatic? It just seemed very dramatic to call me insane. But, you know, the definition of insanity is, what I've come to discover, is just when my thoughts are disproportionate to reality. That would be an insane thought if I'm thinking about something that's just not in proportion to reality. So certainly around my food addiction, my thoughts were insane. My thoughts were insane. I was not managing my life well because I had insane thoughts. So the power greater than myself, oh God, I could talk about this for 3 days. But I'm going to pack it into 5 minutes and then a 10-minute. So the first thing I want to say is that I had to really try to I was desperate. I was desperate because I knew this was my solution, because I studied. There is a solution, you know, and I knew that was my solution. And I didn't want that to be my solution. I just wanted it to go away, you know. And so when my sponsor invited me to just get curious about everything around you, just get curious about people, about plants, about flowers, about the sky, just anything, just get curious and really think about the world around you. And you'll find the magic, you'll find the miracles, you'll find like the mysteries. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly what I found. And I'm just going to tell the real short story for my little short time on one of the places I found the miracle of God was in my vegetable gardens. So I had been a gardener for years, and I just really never paid attention, other than I just was waiting for my stuff to grow so I could have it, mine. But as I was invited to entertain the idea of being curious about what's actually happening out there, I was watching stuff out there. I was like, I can't even believe that this stuff was going on in my yard all these years, and I never noticed. Like, for instance, when cucumbers grow, they grow these kind of tendrils that come out, and they just kind of hover in the air until they feel something next to something. Then they start swirling around it, and then it's a grab, because right there's going to be a cucumber that grows, and it needs to be really strong and hold it up. Then another vine comes out, and then another tendril. Now I can look at the tendril tonight and it's just out like this, and the next day I come out there, it found the little fence thingy and it's all swirled around it. It's like, how did that happen? That's just like an energy of the universe. It's an energy that this cucumber plant is going to get what it needs to produce what it needs for who it needs it for. Zucchinis, when zucchinis and squashes grow, they grow on the ground. They don't need tendrils. They don't need to hang. The cucumbers do, because they'll rot if they're on the ground. But the zucchinis can lay on the ground, and they grow these big, huge leaves that are not edible. Actually, they hurt when you touch them because they're a little prickly. That's just to keep everybody away. And it gives them shade because they need shade. And they just provide their own shade. Well, God provides the shade, you know. the tomatoes. I'm watching the tomatoes growing up through the cages. And then I see all the flowers coming. Thank you, Shalece. And then I see like they grow in clusters. And every cluster there's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, maybe 6. And one row at a time, they ripen. This one's ready. They don't need to all be ready at once. We're going to save these for you later. This is your nutrition for people, right? So just now I pick these 2 and I wait for the next 2 to ripen, maybe by the next day or the next day. And it's just like, so I came to believe that if all of these measly vegetables are getting the attention of some source energy that provides and cares and nurtures and without even a brain, they know what to do. I have to believe, I was able to believe that same energy source could work for me, and that it's guiding me without my brain, without my thoughts, it's guiding me. And that's how I put it. That's how I put it together. And it started with just getting curious. So I invite you all to get very curious. I'm going to stop there with that story. And Shalece, you can take it away.
Thank you, Lulu. Yeah, so my experience was that I came into the program, and as we talked about in our last month's session, I learned about the problem first: physical allergy, mental twist, doctor's opinion, more about alcoholism, and then Bill's story. All talk about the problem. And man, I was like, after going through those, I'm like, oh, screwed. I got all these huge problems, and how on earth am I going to manage them? You know, how? I'm like, all of this stuff, I have absolutely no control over the way my food the way my body reacts to these certain foods. And I have no power or control over my mind. And so what did I need? I needed a power greater than myself. And I came into this program, grew up in a very ground, and had a God, had a higher power that has had very strong presence in my life. And so for me, it wasn't difficult to believe in a God. It wasn't difficult to believe in a power greater than myself. Where my problem was is like, well, how can God help me with this? I don't get how this whole thing ties together. And so it was a lot of, for me, kind of recognizing that I had the building blocks of a strong relationship with God, but I had a lot of head knowledge. I had a lot of teaching and understanding of a higher power, but I didn't necessarily have the strongest personal relationship with God. And that's where, coming into this program, I realized that in order to draw on that power that Lulu's talking about with her plants, you know, it's beautiful. I love that visual of just seeing how plants grow in environment and how everything is just kind of taken care of. I needed to learn or understand how I personally could tap into that power. Could that power help me to overcome or to stop compulsively overeating? The food was huge in my life. It was big, and it was something that I couldn't overcome on my own. I needed something greater than myself. And for me, I think just it was came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. It was just kind of planting a seed of, okay, I believe that maybe if God has the power to make plants grow, to make everything in the world around me work, perhaps the food thing isn't that big of a deal for God. Perhaps God could help me with this and overcome and recover from this illness. And I think for me, it was also kind of a humbling experience of, okay, I'm religious, but perhaps I don't know everything there is to know about a higher power. Perhaps I don't know how to tap into that. I know a lot of knowledge and things about God, but how can I apply the things that I know from my religion and everything else that I know about God? How can I apply those to my own personal life? And I believe that that's what step 2 has done for me, is just kind of believing that it's possible, I didn't even need to know exactly what this higher power looked like. You don't have to have a religious background to tap into this power. All I needed to make a start was just to believe that it's possible that this power could help me. And with that, I will pass it back to Lulu.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Shalece. So, the difference that I saw between me and nature is that I have a brain that thinks insane thoughts. So that's why I'm not going in the flow with God that is all love and all kindness and all beautiful and roses, okay? Because I've got a mind that's lying to myself, that's telling me that eating is going to take care of all my problems, and that problems are bad, and that this is bad. And so anyway, so I like I said, I had to have a whole new level of open-mindedness that I couldn't even imagine possible. So I remember I was at a meeting once, and this woman shared, and I didn't know her, but she shared, and she said, in blah, 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 blah. And then she finished up her share by saying, and if it wasn't for my higher power and my angels, I don't know where I would be right now. So I thought, oh, angels. I love angels, because I have like an angel on the wall. I like angels. Like I never thought of them as anything like godly, because I wasn't really a God person, but I love angels. And a statue of an angel I would have in my bedroom and stuff. And I thought, because now I've been told to get curious, I'm going to get curious about this girl's angels. So I found her on the phone list, and I called her, and I said, I'm Lulu from the meeting tonight. And I said, if this is not too personal of a question, you did say that if it wasn't for your angels, you don't know where you'd be right now. I was wondering if you could just tell me how that works for you, because I'm thinking it might be able to work for me. Like I was really I was grasping here, And so she says, oh yeah, she starts talking about all these angels and this kind of the guardian angels, the healing angels, and they all have different names and they all have different roles. And it's almost like this community that exists. And so I imagined it to be like it made me feel that maybe they were like God's messengers. Like if this realm of angels existed that were God, they were doing God's work. That's how God reaches everybody, through all these helpers. So this is what's going on in my mind. So I got curious about it. I did some research on it. I was on Googling, and I found a book that I liked on angels, and I read that, and I was just kind of imagining this whole kind of spiritual community of angels. So then I read, if you want to to know that your angels are there with you, you just look for signs, and they usually will leave you signs in the form of coins or feathers. So I'm listening to this, and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'll look for that one day, So one day I was like, I'm done. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to talk to angels that I don't even see, that I don't even know are there. I think this is cuckoo, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I got up in that morning, and I said, hello, angels. Good morning, all my angels. My guardian angel, I'll just talk to one of you, I guess. And I'm feeling like an idiot, hoping nobody can hear me outside the door. And I said, if you're here with me, I would like a sign. Give me a sign. At some point, I'll be looking. I'll be paying attention. Then I was like, okay, that was crazy. So then I remember I got ready, I went to work, I commuted into Boston, I sat down, I logged on my computer, and while I was having my coffee, I just opened Facebook, and the very first post that showed, which was the last one that was posted by somebody, was a picture of one single feather. And I forget what the little saying said, but I was like, wow, it's a feather, right? And so I thought, well, that's kind of really stretching it, because it is a picture of a feather. It's not really a feather. So, but I was like, but still, it's a feather, you know? So I was kind of like thinking, oh, is that a sign? So then, that was a Friday, and that Friday night I went to, I remember it was December, because I went to a Christmas Toys for Tots fundraiser party, big party with dancing and all that. And I went to that, and I remember I pulled into the parking lot, and is that me? I have 1 minute. Is that what you, oh, that was the other one. Oh, okay. So I pulled into the parking lot, and it was pouring rain. And I was trying to get a parking space up close because it was pouring rain, but I couldn't. So I had to go back, and I found a spot. I opened the door when I got out, and there was this feather. I mean, it was like a 12, 14-inch feather. And I was like, oh my God, it was just like right there in the middle of the winter. I was like, I can't even believe this is here. And I was just really excited. It got me a little excited, you know? And so I remember I picked up the feather, and I closed my car door, and I was like, oh my God. And it was just like, I just had this feeling of like, I don't know how I'm connecting right now, but something is happening. I'm going to keep paying attention, you know? So I put the feather down in my passenger seat, and I was like, I'll be right back. You know, it was like my new little pet or something, you know? And off I went in, and I danced all night, and I didn't have one thing to eat and nothing to drink. I was just as happy as can be because of my feather, you know? So then, at that time, my daughter was visiting from California with her boyfriend. And on Saturday morning, I just told them the story about the feather, and they were like, wow, that's really cool, you know? So off they went. He had never been to Boston before, so she took him to Boston. They're going through all the touristy stuff in Boston. So they come back that night, and he says to me, Lulu, look what I got for you. And he had this handful of feathers, like 4 feathers. He goes, everywhere I walked, there was feathers. And I thought of you. And I picked them up, and I said, but I think they're your angels. I don't think they're my angels. He's like, no, Lulu, these are your angels. And I was like, they are. And I was just like, oh my God. So this is my binder. This is all my step work. And this is my cover. And these are all I know the people listening to the recording can't see, but that big, huge feather is the one that was at the fundraiser, and all the smaller ones are the ones that JP, my daughter's boyfriend, brought me. And they just what they say to me is like, this was my beginning. It was my beginning. My connection with a higher power is much richer than this right now. But this at the time was so rich. It was so rich. It was like, then I started getting curious about fairies and elementals. And I was thinking about like gnomes and like all these like, I just started looking into all that stuff. And I'm like, you know, who says that this is not here? How do I know? I don't know how this world works. And it just made me feel like really small, you know? And I always say, like, you know, the bigger that God gets in my life, the smaller I feel. And the smaller I feel, it seems the happier I am. It's just working out like that. And I know I'm spiritually growing when I know that I am feeling smaller and smaller. And you know, my opinion in this whole big, huge world matters very little. My experience matters a lot, and your experience matters a lot. So this is the kind of stuff that that was starting to get my attention when I was going to get curious about coming to believe that there is a power greater than myself that can restore me to sanity. So I knew I had to get the insane thoughts gone. And that was my step work, all the steps 4 through 9, that just worked through all that crazy. It just made sense of it all, so that it wasn't disproportionate thoughts to reality, but it was, my thoughts need to be in proportion to reality. When I keep things real, there's nothing to fear. When I keep things real, there's nothing to resent. When I keep things real, there's nothing for me to be selfish about. Like, my needs are always met. like what I think I need, is it even true? That might be something I'm thinking that's cuckoo. But I can always, I just knew that I needed to have something. And I knew it had to be fun. I knew it had to be fun and feisty. I didn't want any old boring God. You know what I mean? I wanted something fun and feisty, the one that's dangling feathers around me and working in my garden. And I just feel like, thank you, Shalece. I just feel like, when they say like, to develop really like a friendship with the universe, I call it God. I call it God because it's just easier. But for me, it's just the universe. It's like this world, like think about it. Just think about it, right? And I got curious about my body and I thought, wow, I just sit here and my heart beats and my blood flows and my eyes blink whenever they get dry. I don't even have to do that job. I don't have to sit here and say, oh, my eyes are dry, let me blink. Oh, my eyes are dry, let me blink. Oh, it just happens. Like when your eyes are dry, God just provides this natural thing. And also when God, I know exactly the nutrition that I need. I need nutrition and I know what that is today. And I take care of my body and I respect this amazing machine that I have been given to care. And it's so self-correcting because it's not self-correcting, but it's so healing because what I've done to my body for 55 years, it's amazing that, like, I always say my liver's a real trooper and, and my, and with the yo-yo dieting and stuff, it's amazing that I am in perfect health today and have an amazing life thanks to this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Lulu. So for me, it was kind of an interesting thing coming in because I felt so I came in with the religion and I'm still very active in this religion, but I have, it has been an interesting experience to come in and realize and kind of pull apart the parts of the God that I came in with that weren't working for me. There was a lot of fear kind of tangled in. There was a lot of, with religious culture, there was a lot of fear of other people's opinions and worrying that they were going to be judging me and all of this stuff. And that kind of had to be, my religion and spirituality kind of had to be leveled. And it was kind of a little bit of a painful process for me, but it needed to happen. And it's continuing to happen. I feel like this step 2 is just, I came to believe the power greater than myself. I came to believe that a power greater than myself. It isn't, we believed in God and that was it. And we were done. That was it. No, this is kind of like taking that, cucumber seed, looking at it and going, okay, I believe that the seed can grow, and then putting it in the soil and cultivating it and watching it produce this beautiful fruit. And then it can grow and produce more and more and more and more. So this journey, this spiritual experience is something that happens over time. It's not just a boom, you're done. You got it. All right. You know everything there is to know about God and how he can help you stop eating compulsively. And then that's it. No, it's a continuous process. And for me, I know that God gives me the power to continue in my abstinence, but the abstinence is my work. Keeping abstinent is my work. God will not do for me what I can do for myself. God's not going to measure my food. God's not going to follow my food plan for me. I have to do that. That's something that I have to commit to. And, my best thinking, my diet thinking, going and trying a bunch of different diets and doing these different things, that was the best I had. That was all I had. But my best thinking got me to close to 200 pounds. I'm 5'3". That it obese range, had I continued on that path, I don't care to think about what might have happened to my health if I had continued on that path. But I am very grateful that at the beginning, the power that I needed to become abstinent was actually sitting with me at a face-to-face OA meeting. And she was my first sponsor. But I saw that she had something that I wanted. She had physical recovery and she had sanity. She was like, she had things together, and I wanted that. I didn't want to be a mess anymore. I didn't want to have my life be unmanageable anymore. And even just, forget about thinking about God for a minute. The power that I saw in her wasn't enough. It was enough power. And I saw that it's all God to me. I understand now, but with my very limited understanding that I had then, it was, I saw something that I wanted, and I believed that if I did what she did, I could get what she had. And so I asked her how she was doing it, and she helped me to get abstinent. And again, that work is mine. I have to weigh and measure my food. I have to commit to that. God's not going to do that for me, but he can comfort me through that. He, as I reached out, especially at the beginning, it was kind of like, hold on to your hats. It was like a crazy, crazy roller coaster ride. That was first, I would say, even several months through abstinence, especially the first several weeks going through a withdrawal period. It was a roller coaster, and I would reach out to her when I had questions. I would reach out, I didn't know how to properly weigh and measure my food. I had no idea, no concept of this. And so she helped me and was kind enough to guide me through that. And for me, that was, again, that little tiny seed, just a little enough power that would get me to abstinence, which would get me clear my head. Like I'm telling you, when I was eating the food, there was like this heavy, thick fog over my brain, and I could not think clearly. I could not, my decision-making I was having a rough time. Again, I was not living in reality, and my life was an absolute mess. And so having that food, the food had to be put down first in order for that. It's like just, that would, for me, like putting that seed in the soil. That was just like that very first action of putting that seed in the soil. And then the other actions, taking step 3 and then step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just, it's that continuous process of planting, cultivating, harvesting. And it's just this cycle of growth. And it's been such an incredible experience for me, especially in the 4th step. Like I say, for me, I had quite a bit of resentment toward the religion that I grew up in, though I love so many things about it. There were so many resentments that I held and that were blocking me from this closer relationship with God. And again, that was further on in the steps, cultivating that little belief first. And then I was able to move on and be ready to be able to look at the other things that needed to be untangled. But it was such a beautiful experience for me, and continues to be a beautiful experience, because I'm still working at it. I'm still cultivating that relationship with my higher power, within my religion. It's all the same to me. It's all the same. It's not, spirituality covers all. I fit everywhere when I have a close relationship with God. I fit everywhere. I fit anywhere. And my God goes with me, and it grows with me. But for me, it was such an incredible experience working through the 4th step and taking each one of these resentments that I had towards God, and realized that none of them were resentments towards God. They were all resentments toward other people, organization, the way that I thought people should be acting in my religion. And when I wasn't acting that way, I was judging them for doing the exact same thing that I was doing. But again, I was not, it's a process. And there were things that needed to happen first. You can't have a cucumber the day after you plant a cucumber plant, a seed. It takes time. And it's a process. And I'm so grateful for step 2, because understanding that step one is powerlessness over the food. So I put that down and become abstinent, but it's not enough. If I don't take step two, I'm going to go straight back to the food. And if I don't take step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's a rinse and repeat process. It's all the work that comes after getting abstinent that helps to keep me abstinent. It's not the diet itself that keeps me abstinent. It's not the food plan that keeps me abstinent. It's not my sponsor. My sponsor does not have the power to keep me abstinent. She is not God. I am not God. I cannot keep my sponsees abstinent. I can encourage them and show them and tell them how to cultivate that seed, but I don't have that power. And again, it's such a personal and the process is pretty cut and dried, but it's very personal to each person. And I'm so grateful for step 12, because this is where the joy just comes in, not only your own harvest of doing your own work, but watching others take the steps, watching others harvest and grow something beautiful and get closer to God. And just such a beautiful gift. So that's, with that, I will pass. Okay. We would now like to open a meeting for questions. If you would like to ask a question about step 2, we invite you to click on more and then chat, and leave your question in the chat section, and we'll be happy to answer those questions as they come in. So click on chat, leave your question in the chat section about step 2, and Lulu, you can address it to me or Lulu, or just generally, and we'll be happy to answer those. Anything you want to add while we're waiting for questions to come in? Miss Lulu?
I was just talking, but I wasn't muted. But I was muted. I think about how the difference with you and I, like, you came in with a religion that needed a little work. I came in as an agnostic that needed work. So I always thought that the religious people that came in had kind of like a one-up on me, like they were already religious, so they're going to get this quicker than me. But bottom line is, we're all coming in like equally broken. Yeah. So it's like whatever's going on in your religion and you're broken, like that religion, or your thoughts about that religion, or your relationship with that religion is probably needs some tweaking, because it's not working.
It's insane. Say for me, it was my thinking and my beliefs were not in line with reality at all in relation. And that's where the conflict was, not with the things that I thought they were, but with my thinking and my beliefs in what it was totally just my misunderstanding.
So, yeah. And you know, I remember, you know, hearing in the rooms like, well, you know, you can just make the doorknob your higher power. And I just thought, oh, really? I mean, you gotta be kidding me, right? And so I remember I said to my sponsor, you know, somebody in a meeting said last night, oh yeah, let's make the doorknob is my higher power for now. And I thought she would laugh with me, but she said, she goes, well, doorknobs open doors, don't they? And I was like, ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, you profound lady.
Really good.
I was like, yeah, they do. They close doors too, you know? So I guess that's pretty good. I'm also coming from an agnostic position, and I'm finding that believing that a power greater than myself can restore me to esteem is quite a different thing from coming to an understanding about the identity of the said power. I guess what I'm saying is that if God was small enough for my mind, God wouldn't be big enough for my needs. So if I'm going to be looking for an understanding and to really, really make sense of this, I'm going to struggle. So I have to live in the mystery, and I have to live with trust, because God, the universe, everything about it somebody will tell you, this is how it started. This is how it started. This is what's actually going on. This is what's actually going on. This is the backstory behind the start of the world. It's like, none of us were here then, this is what death is like. This is what death is like. There's all different things. I'm just kind of thinking anybody that's here to talk about it really doesn't know how that works. So I like just, and it's really hard for addicts, is to just say, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm not going to discard it. And I'm going to just feel the mystery. Just feel the mystery. Because it's a mystery. Everything's a mystery. I can't explain half of the stuff in this world. And no, I can't explain most of the stuff in this world. It's beyond my comprehension, and it's not an intellectual thing. It's just like, I don't know that it's actually there for us to understand. I think it's supposed to be that big, and it's just, I just look outside and I'm just like, this whole thing is just a miracle, and it's a mystery. I don't know anything. I don't know what's going to happen an hour from now. I have a list, and I can guess what I'm going to do for an hour from now, but I know nothing. I know nothing, and I love it. This is coming from a know-it-all, okay? Big time know-it-all. Big time know-it-all. I love, like I said, it's getting small. I don't know. The more I feel how much I don't know, the smaller I get. The smaller I get, the bigger God gets. The bigger God gets, the happier I am. And that's my formula. What about you, Shalece?
Well, I was just going to say, defining God is not even at all part of the steps. Like, it doesn't say we came to believe a God that was this, 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 and 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 this. That's not even part of that. So I think like letting go of the need to define, because that was kind of a little bit, that's where a little bit of the conflict was for me, was like, well, I know that God is this, from my religion and from what I've experienced, I believe that God's this, 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 and this. But I think letting go of that need to define really helped open me up to the possibilities, and then also the process of elimination. For me, God isn't fear. God isn't hate. God isn't destruction. God isn't, so there were some things that along the way as I've gone through the steps, and it didn't happen in step 2 for me. It hasn't happened, it's more with opening my understanding during the other step. I think, like I said, I'm learning as much what God isn't as what God is, and just open to the possibilities. And just for me, letting go and saying, I don't know, just like Lulu, has been so open and freeing, because I came in knowing who God was. I came in knowing exactly what he does, exactly what he looks like, and I had to kind of let all of that go. And just, I love what Harlan G says in many of his podcasts. The only thing I need to know about God is that there is one, and it's not me. That is all step 2 is talking about. Step 2 is there is a God. There could possibly be is enough.
Actually, it doesn't even have to be God. It doesn't even say that. It just says a power greater than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, my sponsor said to me, do you feel like food is more powerful than you? And I was like, yeah, I do. It's so powerful in my life. It owns me. Well, do you think in this whole great, big, huge world that there's something more powerful than food? And I was like, oh, I guess so. I just had to keep conceding, Somebody asked how long to work on step 2 before you move to step 3. Well, right from step 1, when you study the doctor's opinion and you study Bill's story to see kind of an example and an illustration, and you've taken step 1, when you fully concede to your innermost self that you are a food addict, and that that idea that you can eat like normal people has to be smashed, and you've taken your step 1 and you move on to step 2. For me, step 2 is There is a solution in We Agnostics. Once studying those 2 chapters, listening to Harlan G, and we're going to have all of his, on each step, we're going to have links to his presentations on these, because they're on these chapters, because they're amazing. When he does, there is a solution. So basically step 2 is like, in step 1, I learned what the problem is. In step 2, I'm learning what the solution is. All right. So I'm learning that I'm a food addict. My life is unmanageable. I'm insane. I have insane thoughts. And that, can I entertain the idea that there's a power greater than me? Me, little old me. And I had to come up with a yes when I studied this. So basically, and step 2 is it's in the beginning of how it works. Yeah. No. I'm not going to waste time finding it. I hate when that happens. So I'm always looking for something, and it's just not right there at my fingertips. Yeesh. But anyway, so yeah. So that. Oh, thank you.
At being convinced we were at step 3, is that what you mean?
Oh no! I was thinking of step 2.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know it's just right here, right in my world, but I'm not putting my finger on it. But anyway, so yeah, so that's how I feel like. Then once you can take step 2, do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe? See how open that is? I'm either going to believe, or am I willing to believe that there's a power greater than myself? Not that there's a God, that there's a power greater than myself. That same power that, shines the sun every day, that rotates the earth, that takes care of my cucumbers and tomatoes. That same energy, I'm going to believe that is more powerful than me, because I can't make that stuff grow. I can't make the sun come out. So I found my place in the world, right? And then that's when you move on to step 3, when you do believe, or you are even willing to believe. And then step 3, we'll talk about next month. It's just really a decision. It's not even a promise. It's just a decision, and we'll talk about that next time. Do you have anything on that before we go to the next question, Shalece?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, a sponsor can help you decide if you're ready to move on to the next step. It's not like, well, on step 2, you need to spend, 3 days or a month, or it very much depends. Like say, everybody comes in here at a different space, and God meets us where we're at. And I think with a sponsor who's had experience taking people through the steps, they're going to help you see, okay, you're ready to take, that's what I love about this. We're never alone on this path. It's someone's taking this step before us, and they see, that you have enough. It's good. All right, let's move on to step 3. And so there's no rush to go through the steps, but a sponsor can help you. A sponsor can help you determine whether or not you've taken that step.
Good. So what are some other things that we can do day to day to work step 2? Step 2, like if I have a sponsee that's working on step 2, I would have them, I always invite people to be curious and get curious and just wake up. When you're going for a walk, just pay attention. When I was commuting into work, I would sit on the train and I would be looking at everybody, and I was just like, wow, I wonder like what their lives are like, and I wonder what they are thinking, and I wonder where they're going, and I wonder if they have kids. I just got curious about just people and just watching everybody doing their thing. Everybody's just doing their own thing, and just get super duper curious about everything, and find the miracles and everything. And also, I would tell them to fill yourself up with step 2, podcast. There's Harlan, there's Joe and Charlie from AA. the AA step 2, I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point when we're studying step 2, there's a power greater than myself to restore me to sanity. What does it matter if I'm eating, drugging, drinking? It doesn't really matter. It's we all have an addictive issue that's causing us to an unmanageable life. And so I invite people to just Google step 2 podcasts. You'll get some really great AA speakers, and on a visionforyou.info. Could you post that link? Could you post that website, Lily? Lily.
Which one was
another friend?
Which one am I doing? Vision for You?
Vision for You, yeah. So if you go into Vision for You,
I will post that.
Yep, special editions, the tab that says special editions, and you just do a search, step 2, you'll have all kinds of presentations on step 2. So that's what I would do for day-to-day work on step 2. Does that work for you, Shalece?
Yes, and if I might add, let's see, did that go to the chat section? Hold on one second.
Yes, it did. Yep, it's there.
Yes, okay, perfect. I would just say that, so step 2, like Lulu said, it doesn't really matter what the addiction is when we're taking step 2. And I would say for me, I'm 6 years in, 6 years abstinent, yet I'm still taking step 2 every day in many areas in my life. For instance, I'm powerless over the coronavirus, and my life has become unmanageable. My kids are doing online school now. And so came to believe that a power greater than myself, God, could restore me to sanity with helping my kids with school, for instance. So it's in any situation that comes up into my life, I can practice step 2. I am powerless over that, and my life has become unmanageable. And I've come to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity with that too. So it's not just the food, it's not just alcohol, it's not just cigarettes, it's not just any of those substances. It's really just anything. And every person, no matter where they're at in the steps, no matter where, no matter what's happening in life, we get all sorts of beautiful opportunities to practice step 2 all the time. And so for me, it's just looking for those things when those feelings of anxiety come up. That can help me, if I haven't taken steps 4 through 9 yet, that even just, reciting that step 2 can really help me to realize what I have control over, what I don't, and that this higher power can help me manage anything.
And Kenny asks about, the step 2 was necessarily to be worked, but rather a conclusion of the intellectual mind. And yes, I have my notes that I have on the side of my steps on page 59. I say steps 1 and 2 are steps that we learn. Steps 3 through 9 are the steps that we take. And steps 10, 11, 12 are the steps that we live. So yes, 1 and 2 are school. It's like, this is your problem. Let's help you totally understand your problem. You always thought your problem was food, that you ate too much and you were fat. And that your solution would be that you'd stay on your diet, you'd lose weight and maintain it for the rest of your life while still eating everything you wanted. Right? That was basically my life's plan, And but the truth is that my problem was powerlessness. That's what my problem was. I was powerless. And then in step 2, with reading these chapters, studying with a sponsor, watching YouTube, listening to podcasts and YouTube videos on step 2 with, like I said, Joe and Charlie, Harlan, and then just paying attention, staying curious, opening my mind. That just opening my mind was a project. Okay. That was me. I learned that my problem was powerlessness. I had the problem wrong. I learned that my solution was power. I had the solution wrong. So now I learned those 2 things. So now going forward, if I truly, truly understand and believe that this is my problem, and I truly and fully understand that this is my solution, then I can go forward and make a decision, which is step 3, which we'll talk about next month, it's merely a decision. It's a decision. I think I'll give it a try, basically. That's basically it. It's like, you know, step one is like, I have a problem. Step two, I believe something might be able to solve my problem. And step three is, I think I'll give this something a try, no matter how vague and undefined it is. It should always be pretty undefinable, because it's too big to define. It's too awesome, you know. So I hope that helps. And once you were simply able to begin to believe, did you move on to step three? Yeah. Yep. Like it says in the big book, I either come to believe, or am I willing to believe? So you see, you don't even have to be able to begin to believe, just a willingness. And it's just like, I'm willing to try this solution because I'm out of ideas. I'm out of ideas. Thank you. Go next.
Thank you, Lulu.
Yep.
I was just going to go, I loved what Gwen said up at the top, just said, step two gives me the hope that change is possible. And that's, I think, that was exactly what it was for me when I came in as well. Just seeing that there was a solution. I couldn't even begin to understand what it was quite yet, but just seeing that there was a solution, and that solution was bigger than me. It kind of took the pressure off me, because up till now I've been trying to manage the whole thing, right? It was kind of like it's huge when I saw that the other people that were living this new way. It just gave me hope, and it lifted this. It's not all on me anymore. I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to go to the grocery store and look at all these new fad diets, and because every single time I'd be like, oh well, maybe that'll work, or maybe this will work, or maybe this will work, or I hear that they're doing this now and this now, and none of it. I mean, it was just exhausting, and it was just kind of like step two was just like this huge, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to try to figure this out anymore. If I can just listen and just follow directions, then perhaps I can have that too. Perhaps I can have the relief too. So yes, I love that step two just totally brings.
Also, I found the line in the big book that I was trying to find. It's on page 47 in We Agnostics, the second paragraph. That's step two. We needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe? And I have written right here, how desperate am I? How desperate am I? Okay, that's what I have written here. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself? As soon as a man can say that he does believe, or is even willing to believe, we emphatically assure him he is on his way. So that's the directions for step two. A lot of times in this book, it will say, you are now at step three. You are now at step four. They don't do that for step one and two. I don't know. He's a tricky son of a gun, that Bill Wilson. We have to go find it. Yeah, you find it. So it doesn't say step one, but step one is, I think we talked about that at the last recording, the step one. That would be in more about alcoholism. Yeah, page 30, second paragraph. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics, that we were food addicts. This is the first step in recovery. There you go, step one. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed. So that's step one, and step two is on 47, even though it doesn't say it. Just, that's where they are. And it's just a willingness. Is there anybody else that has anything that they want to, we have
I
six.
just wanted to touch, I was just going to say, I just wanted to touch on what Bonnie said. And she said, I'm going to read it. It says, God isn't going to do the work for us, but God can most certainly provide the inspiration and confidence to follow through with the actions we need to take to facilitate our recovery. And then I'm just going to say amen to that, really. Like, we do the work, but I wouldn't even, if I hadn't had come to a meeting, felt that hope, seen that there was a solution, and all of that was provided by God for me. I wouldn't even be able to take that action if that inspiration wasn't there. And I, you know, it wouldn't exist without God. So I totally agree with that. I do the work, but it just, God, the inspiration is there to help guide me through there.
Yeah, I'd like to say something on what Bonnie said too. When she says that God can most certainly provide the inspiration and the confidence. So how do I get confidence to follow through with my actions? In order for me to have confidence, I have to deal with my fears, because fear is really basically where a lack of confidence comes from. And this is what's beautiful about this whole program and all the steps, all the step work. It covers everything. It misses nothing. There's a whole fear inventory to do. There's fear writing to do on all the resentment writing. He has this it's just an absolute perfect system to find out everything about you that you don't know, that if anybody else ever told you, you'd probably be insulted if they told you this stuff about yourself. But when you see it in your own handwriting, you're like, you know, like my sponsor would say, you're kind of like a jerk. You know, I'm like, what do you mean? It's just like, well, look what you wrote. Like, you're a jerk. And I'm like, oh, you know. And, you know, oh, you're afraid. I'm afraid of nothing. What are you talking about? I'm Italian. And she's like, you're riddled with fear. Look. And it's like, I didn't see it until I saw it. And the fourth step is designed, it's such a gentle process, the writing. The way that it comes out and the things that you need to write, it doesn't feel like you're bashing. But when it's all unraveled, it's the best news you're going to ever have. Like, I need to know this stuff about myself. I don't even know what to fix. You know? So that's where the power comes in to just, I mean, you know, the most miraculous thing that happened to me in this program, and I don't know how it happened. It's as confusing and as mysterious as what goes on in my garden and everything else. It's just the most mysterious thing. My obsession to compulsively eat has been removed. Like, how did that even happen? That not only do I not eat, but I don't want to eat. Like, how does that even happen to a food addict that spent 55 years of almost 6 decades in the food? You know, it was like my whole existence.
Miracle.
I don't know how, it's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. I mean, how did this happen to me, you know? And it happened to me. So it's a lot easier to not eat when you don't want to eat. So that's why life just got so simple. So it's so easy. It's like, oh, jeez, now I can friggin' relax, you know what I mean? Oh.
Exactly.
Anyway, does anybody else have anything before we go?
Just pop it in the chat section.
And the work
Do you have any more
load feels
questions?
lighter with God. Yeah, everything feels lighter when you just can just say, you know, how about if I just like watch my life like a movie and I don't know the ending? This might be the plot. It might not be the plot. This might be the good part. I don't even know. It seems like a bad part. Might be the good part, you know, and you just watch and just like, oh, this is how it ended. Oh, okay. That was good. You know, it's like,
Yeah. Life is so much more fun in the passenger seat.
yeah, there you
Like,
go. That's a good one. Yeah,
like,
just stay in the
this is such a
passenger seat.
world, like,
Don't
just
be a
put my feet
backseat
back.
driver. Don't be a backseat driver either. Yeah, because I can be in the passenger seat. I might as well be in the driver's seat. I'm gonna go shut my mouth.
Exactly.
But it was so wonderful to have you all here, and I hope you found it helpful. I love step 2. Step 2 is the step of hope. Step 1 is the step of honesty. It's when you're just going to get honest with yourself. And step 2 is the step that just filled me up to the brim with hope, not with God. I didn't have that yet. Filled me up with hope, possibilities, curiosity. And I invite you all to just relax into it. Just, you know, it will just...
It's on the clock.
What?
Sorry, that was my Spanish computer telling me that.
It's like, what the heck was that? Was that a question? Do we have a translator?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and conclude then.
Yeah.
That concludes the question and answer portion of our meeting. We want to thank you all for participating in this meeting. Lulu and I will be available via email to answer any additional questions that you have regarding this step or the program of recovery. We will post our email addresses in the chat section. And then a voice recording of this meeting and other helpful resources can be found at the link in the chat section, and that's 12stepitup.blogspot.com. We'll also put that in the chat section. And we look forward to seeing you all next time.